And here we go, a live look at what we're dealing with at 11:40 a.m. on this Wednesday, January the 20th at Gulfstream Park. A pretty scene from way up top above the finish line on a fast and firm 10-race Wednesday, and certainly with the national anthem on a day we have a new president and vice president. We are proud and patriotic here at Gulfstream Park, and really hitting high gear as Jason Blewett and Acacia Courtney catch up with all of you. We hope you're doing okay, because this is day one, Acacia, of Pegasus Week.
Yep, and you would absolutely feel it as you come in. Some work done around Gulfstream Park, as we are looking forward to welcoming in a limited number of fans. And yes, I'm not in my usual studio today due to some unforeseen issues that were out of all of our control. So I'll be staring into the blinding sunlight out on the wind here for this show, but we'll do the best we can.
You're a pro.
I'll try.
Thank goodness you're a pro.
I'll try.
We'll get through it. We'll come up with some winners and maybe have a laugh or two along the way. Actually, the joke might be on me, because Friday has beat the expert, and I, of course. Now, I did win a few weeks ago, and I'm looking to go out a winner. This will be my my last week working for the Stronach Group and at Gulfstream. More on that, of course, as we get closer to Saturday. But it's been a great 4 years and a proud 4 years. But my last chance in the ring is this coming Friday, so you can sign up with that 10-race program. Asham looks like a star in the making, potentially. He'll go in the 9th race. So, again, take me on over at GulfstreamPark.com. Rainbow Six, meanwhile, Acacia, is a big one this afternoon. I mean, this is a guaranteed threshold worthy of Pegasus Week here at GP.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Starting things off in style, kicks off in race number 5 today. Pretty fun sequence, too. Pretty competitive one, especially with some of those later races. We'll talk more about the sequence in a little bit, but 750,000, and that pool has just grown so quickly, and I'm sure it will grow a lot more over the next couple days before the Pegasus.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Pegasus, we will have advanced wagering here on Friday for Saturday's festivities. Early pick 5 in the meantime begins in earnest with 53 on the clock. I see you did not put your eggs in one basket with the 9 Figo on the outside, and you've obviously got a little bit of breathing room, a 3-bagger to start, and you'll wrap up with the single for $24.
Yeah, I wanted a little bit of coverage in here. I do think 12:01 back on the dirt and making the 3rd start here at Gulfstream on the drop just kind of feels like go time for this horse, and I didn't want to leave him off, though Figo with the speed and the drop in class is the one to beat. Though it's a maiden 16, I think race number 2 is pretty interesting. You've got some horses dropping in class who could absolutely move forward. I've got a few trainer changes in race number 3. The move to Chad Brown with the number 2 Life on Top, and I included the current maker Chocolate Bar, though a little bit worried about the former maker Turn of Events in there. Maiden special weight for the Florida Breds in the 4th, and then I'll just stand alone with Alley to Cavalry. I realize that his last couple of races haven't been the best, but just in that field, he was the one I just really liked best to try to make the ticket a little bit more affordable.
And it is at $24 as we kick things off with a horse who's probably going to be favored, I would imagine, by race time at 12:35 sharp in the 9 Figo. And why don't we just backtrack, because we both picked this colt by Twirling Candy. Now, this is his dirt effort, 2 starts back on November 19th. What you see is what you get. I mean, it's a horse that's run pretty well to this point against Maiden Special Weight Company, and the real appeal, naturally, Acacia, is the fact he has never started this low, but I think most importantly, this low on the dirt.
Absolutely. Tried the turf last time for the first time for the tag, was a big price, and wasn't able to sustain that speed. I thought that this race, 2 back at Gulfstream Park West, really is kind of the one that tells the tale. Top Gun Tommy, the winner of that race, did come back to win, and while maybe he's a little bit of a suspicious character in here on such a big drop, and he has had a few starts, the drop in class just really makes him, I think, kind of a standout in here. As I mentioned, I think 12:01 back on the dirt should hopefully run a bit better today. His dirt race 2 starts back, he showed some speed, but that was his first race here in Florida. He was a little bit kind of wound up beforehand. So another drop in class, 3 starts now in Florida, and the blinkers come off, which I'm hoping will help him settle.
All right, drop anchor, the 7 for Antonio Sano, a very early favorite, a major player you would like to think in for the 16. As we get on to race number 2, we will head to the turf. It does feel like the dirt opener is a rare opening race on the main track. Normally it's about a 12-horse turf race, but we hit the green in race number 2. Fear not, a 3-year-old filly, 16K maiden claimer at 7.5 furlongs, and I was most comfortable in the same zip code as you, at least regarding the likability and that common thread between the 6 Sweet Felicia and the 8 Hardly Social. I just felt as though, like you did, I'm sure, both fillies descending down to 16K maiden claiming it just was a prudent move, I think, in the camp of both connections.
I agree. And Hardly Social gets the blinkers on. She gets Lasix. I think that the drop in class just really makes sense. The reason I kind of narrowly preferred Sweet Felicia was that she did show quite a bit of speed last time. And so that's my hope on the drop in class, that speed will really be her biggest advantage.
All right, let's move on to race number 3. We continue on the grass. We're up in class with these older horses in this 50K starter allowance. And you said it in that summation of your early pick 5. I mean, this is trainer change mania in this race, and some high-profile barns in the mix. The one that made me take a double glance was the Sandy Goldfarb horse, now with trainer Chad Brown. I don't know if I've ever seen Chad outright with the Sanford Goldfarb owned horse. That's the 2 Life on Top. And then you've got the Maker Runner in Chocolate Bar. And clearly there's also a New York theme as we backtrack to Chocolate Bar's last start here in early December. Lost a tough one with that big close on the inner turf course up at the Big A.
Yeah, and I thought this was a good effort, closing from pretty far off of it. I think typically his best running style has been more up in that first flight, but he has actually run some good races closing from off of it. He's the 1A, part of an entry that day, but just beat in a neck, and the entry was the favorite, but kind of that cavalry charge down to the wire and just on the inside Hurricane Hill just gets the jump on him. But I liked that he showed some versatility. Obviously, after his maiden win, they tried him in Stakes Company on Preakness Weekend in the Jimmy Murphy, where he really wasn't that big a price behind Don Juan Kitten and Bye Bye Melvin.
What do you do with the deuce, though, Life on Top, who does pick up a Rod Ortiz Jr., who, for trainer Rob Atris, who you would know more than me, he doesn't strike me as more of like a quote-unquote traditional turf trainer. But that said, I mean, he's clearly a guy that's had a lot of success in the claim box and has picked up some higher profile, claim owners. This horse's turf form since leaving trainer Jimmy Jerkins' barn, though, right around Labor Day at Saratoga, was not lighting the world on fire. Does Chad maybe get him straightened out this afternoon?
I guess that's the big question, and you really did hit the nail on the head. Rob Atris has done a sensational job claiming horses, though the turf numbers have not been as strong. That doesn't mean by any stretch that he doesn't win on turf.
Sure.
But first off, the claim on the turf, obviously not as much as you're going to see with the dirt, and they did step him up pretty aggressively in that first start off the claim. That said, he's always been a little bit of a tricky horse when with Jimmy Jerkins too, and last time he was in that same race we just showed with Chocolate Bar and kind of that cavalry close. I thought he took a step in the right direction, but he's just not the most consistent type, so we'll see what happens. It's kind of hard to leave him off given the barn that he's in right now, but definitely has some questions.
All right, let's move on to the 4th race. I think the one general question, or at least that I had in this race as sort of an undercurrent, is who gets the mile this afternoon. And there's a few different camps of horses in this Florida-bred restricted 3-year-old maiden special weight. First and foremost, just because of the size, I think the biggest, again, the most pivotal rematch concerns 3 horses, the 2nd through 4th finishers from a race here back on New Year's Eve, won by a good-looking Bill Mott, Peter Vesco, Quality Road Florida bred in Sir Ollie, who just drove that race down way out on the outside, and Jossie Jack lost a tough one. Yet the more I looked around, I felt as though our horse, the 2 Skywalking, going from 7 to a mile, second out for George Weaver, this would be a horse that not only would probably improve in all likelihood, but might just relish maybe more so than the competition going the 8 furlongs today.
And Amount was one of those, 327 of the 2-year-old winners we saw at the start for Todd Pletcher at the beginning of the meet, and he won that race very impressively. And my notes for Skywalking in his debut were that he was a good-looking type. I'd want to see him go a little bit longer. So I'm wondering if he wants maybe even 2 turns down the road, even a little bit more than the mile, but he's one that physically and based on pedigree, as the dam was very good going long on dirt, he's one I didn't have a question with the distance. And I think that that's definitely the biggest point that you bring up in here, not to mention he faced Open Company and into Florida bred for the first time today. Out of that Sir Ollie race, French Affair does have the speed. Joshy Jack has run well, but I still don't love that he was already exposed for $25,000 in his debut.
I know that left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I've got him more highly rated than you, but I did see the maiden 25. At least he improved second out. Does he take a
Absolutely.
step forward for Antonio Sana with that early speed, and jockey Luis Saez, who's just a couple of wins behind Rod Ortiz Jr., who picked up a five-bagger here on Sunday afternoon. And speaking of fives, we'll have the late pick five, the Rainbow, and a whole lot more after this break. Free money and up to a $500 bonus if you'd like to open up a first bet wagering account, the official wagering app and platform of the Pegasus World Cup. Acacia and Jason back with all of you on this Fast and Firm Wednesdays. We get down to it, Acacia, $750,000 guaranteed in this Rainbow Six. And what are we doing this afternoon?
Stepped it up a little bit today for 57.60, and while I did single in the first leg, or in the cash out leg of the pick five, in the first leg of the pick six, I did go too deep in here, including She Fled the Scene, who has missed just narrowly in her last couple. Prefer the rematching horses in race number 6, so in 3 deep in there with the inside 3 runners. I like a bit of a price in the 7th. I think Alan Iwinski, both of his horses have a good chance, and I'm really curious about Dominate the Moment, who I have a theory with his last race and taking the blinkers off today, and especially picking up John Velasquez this afternoon. As we move on to race number 8, I've got just the 2 horses there in Carson City Kid and Crazy Shot on the drop-in class. Pretty salty 9th race on the turf, so I'm spreading there with 4 horses, and then wrapping up with the drop-down runner, Joyful Surprise, and the first-time turfer, Blakenstein.
All right, sounds good. 57.60 for Acacia's Rainbow Six. That 5th race is the battleground, or at least the turf course will serve as the battleground of this opening leg, which on this Wednesday card is a 2-lifetime $20,000 to $16,000 claimer. Again, you and I didn't go over the card prior to coming on the air, but had a feeling you were probably like me, middle of the pack, and it does seem like you get, 2 horses that on paper are quite disparate, but again, in terms of the 5, Alley to Calvary, who's the first-time Gargan shipper from New York, and then the local horse, the local mare, and She Fled the Scene, who's just so sharp right now for Kathleen O'Connell. I feel there's a lot to like and just quite a bit of appeal with those 2 mares in the middle of the pack.
I agree. They do seem to be kind of the ones to beat, and I had liked She Fled the Scene last time, and she just missed a neck behind Camellia Gal, who's in good form. I think her last couple of races have been very good. Unfortunately, they've been second-place finishes, so she's got to take a little bit of the step forward today, but she's in good form for Kathleen, who's been having a good meet too, and obviously the same goes for Danny Gargan. And like I said, I know the last race was pretty poor up in New York, but I do think top to bottom, that was a pretty solid field that she faced. And the drop down to the 20 today just kind of feels like this might be the right spot to get it done.
And a barn that has obviously got 10 wins, I think, from 24 starters this meet, and it is, of course, on the precipice of running tax Saturday in the Pegasus Dirt. These GP shipping numbers for Danny Gargan are pretty outrageous at 22 for 64. He's almost 35% in that category, and he's done well with 3 winners in that division off trainer changes. So, yeah, I'm first-time Gargan with you in the 5th. Let's move on to the 6th here. We'll start the late pick 5. Major scratch 2 of Happy Constitution, who I thought the timing was pretty cute with her showing up on this inauguration day. But she's gonna be a scratch in this race, and I think that puts even more of an onus and a premium on these 2 fillies that I use, the 2 and 3 in Shiny Empire and the number 3 Sunny Isle Beach, who are rematching off a race we'll show you. So I'm all in with that rematch crew with no Happy Constitution. 3 logical looking horses. I think the 7th race now goes through, or it went and it currently goes through the number 4 Sir Seamus because of his early speed. And speed is the name of the game for the number 5 Carson City kid. You cannot not get too relaxed with him early. He wants to be ridden hard, and I think that's a spot back on the dirt he can control, which is what he wants to do, and the race flow that he hopes to get with Luis Saez and 5, 7, 8 there in the 9th, and wrapping it up with the Tomlinson trainer change alongside Union Lane, who is just has the best overall recent form. Does he indeed break through? That's the big question. Regarding Shiny Empire and Sunny Isle Beach, they put on a good show last time out. Pretty good race here, about a week and change before Christmas as we take a little trip back to that race on December the 16th. Shiny Empire made all the running in that lime green cap and the red sleeves down inside. And I'll tell you, Acacia, we both like Sunny Isle Beach a lot, and she endured a long drive, but just would not refuse to quit. I mean, she was very tenacious in this win, just kept pecking, and finally wore down Shiny Empire.
No, she ran very, very well. I agree. And Shiny Empire, take nothing away from her because she set the pace and she was trying to hold on too. I think it was a case of Sunny Isle Beach just having that big closing kick and being able to come from off of it. And clearly she was able to get the distance without any problem too as she was stretching out. But I thought stretching out for the first time, going the distance, and being able to settle so nicely and get up in the final strides like she did, she's a major player once again. The speed of Shiny Empire must be respected. And then you wonder what Sexy Dream is going to do as she dropped in class and showed a lot of speed and just was much the best last time out at Gulfstream Park West. It's unfortunate that she has had to drop in for the 25 to get the win, but I think it's also encouraging she's not in for the tag today.
She's not, and if memory serves, she's the younger half-sister to Jackson Ben. She's in that excellent
and
family.
Shores, yeah, just an amazing mare that produces.
Yeah, without a doubt. And in hindsight, I was thinking, man, for 25K, if you wanted to jump in and maybe claim her as a broodmare prospect last time out, but there were no takers, and Ralph's going to step her up. Ralph Nix, that is, step her up and try the mile against a better field. That also includes Jerry O'Dwyer's filly in the 4 Celestial Cheater. Some of these other horses don't like a mile, mainly, of course, Ralph's horse in the 5 Pretty Rachel. I think Celestial Cheetah can make a race of this amongst the 2 fillies we just checked out in that good battle from December 16th.
Yeah, obviously, she's coming out of the toughest last out race in the Demoiselle, where Malathaat's a very, very talented filly for Todd Pletcher. So she was well beaten that day, but they took a shot with her, clearly feeling that she'd want the distance as that was the mile and an 1/8.
Yeah, it seemed like that mile race preceding that was clearly a career top for her up in the Mid-Atlantic at Delaware Park. Now, she's a dangerous little new face there, especially if you're not fully sold on those 2 fillies from December 16th. Mile and a 16th, in the meantime, will be the trip on the turf for Wednesday 7th, which is a Florida-bred allowance optional claimer. Excuse me, I'm a fan of the 4 Sir Seamus, who's just... It's been a combination of him being outclassed and also just running against horses like Max KO, who have basically denied him the trip that he wants to pull. He cannot rate. We learned that last summer here for trainer Carlos David. And ultimately, I think this is a spot with the Rod Ortiz Jr. where he can make the point and just set the pace under his own tempo this afternoon. I'm going to take him over 1 of 2 in the race, in fact, for Alan Iwinski, who also has the 1 Freedom Matters, who I have 3rd. I've got Safi's horse in the 7 Rhythmia, who didn't fire last time out, but is 2nd off the layup. I think he'll run well here. And does he, along with some of the other closers, they may move up if Sir Seamus is just off form, Acacia, and those trips maybe mask the fact he might not be as sharp as he was here, say, through the summer and early fall.
And it's tough to tell because he's been running against much tougher in his last few starts. So it's a drop in class, but it's a drop in class still not down to the lowest level where he was being competitive through the summer. So his speed is absolutely something you have to respect. But Freedom Matters, there's your hunch bet for Inauguration Day. As I took the other Alan Iwinski runner and Dominate the Moment. If you watch that replay back again, he just seemed really headstrong with the blinkers on and was caught wide throughout and just seemed like he never really settled. So obviously obviously it was a failed experiment. The blinkers come off today. He picks up John Velasquez, and he's back in amongst state-bred company at a level that I think he suits. And the plus side with him is that he doesn't need to be too far off of Sir Seamus, but he also doesn't need to take it to him on the front end. So he's a bit of a price play for me in this sequence.
All right, sounds good with Johnny V. Some good points. On to race number 8. We flip back to the main. In fact, this serves as our finale on the dirt on this January the 20th. And like I said, my bread, I'm all in here. My bread's buttered with Carson City Kid, who, although Kelly Breen has outrageously big numbers off the claim, it's not so much the Kelly Breen off the claim. You know, a combination of this horse, I don't care about the 5/8 turf race last time out, and his last dirt start, I mean, I don't think he's a horse that wants to chase or track or press. I'm hoping he can just make the lead outright, because I really think, much like Sir Seamus in the race prior, he's at his best and is just simply most comfortable when he's on the point.
Yeah, I feel like he's the speed of the speed. Yep. However, Heather's Gold is the one that gives me a little bit of a cause for pause, as Kevin Rice's horses do tend to be pretty sharp out of the gate, and this one coming in from a win at Tampa. I don't know if he's quite as good, or clearly hasn't been facing as tough company as Carson City Kid, but I very much agree with you. I think speed of the speed on Carson City Kid, who I know that his dirt race 2 back was against Tougher, but he was claimed for 35, so he's in for the 35 today. Makes perfect sense to me. And then I think you have to give a little bit of a respect to Cobb, who I ride Ortiz rode last time, beat a couple of next out winners, and Jorge Delgado has done quite well picking up some of these Arundel horses.
And, I mean, you've got a 5/7 exacta. I will add, next to the 7 crazy shot, I put 2 massive circled question marks.
Yeah.
What do you do with him?
Yeah, he's such a big drop in class. I mean, obviously his last 2, he's faced the toughest company. I thought he could be one that would be closing if Heather's Gold does make things tough on the front end.
All turf late double. Let's move on to that. Race number 9, older filly and mare, 2 lifetime $35,000 to $25,000 claimers in this one. And I don't know, I just found a lot of like crisscrossing here between horses that are slowly descending down like the overall class ladder, just trying to find a more suitable spot. I mean, clearly that's the appeal of my horse, the 5 Pardon My Heart, even Barkley's filly on the outside, the 11 Kelly Can Run, who you've got capping your try. And then you've got some horses that are stepping up in class, like the 7 Makasupa, who I thought would run well for trainer Dave Fox. And what to do with Graham Ocean's filly, the 8 Candy Flower. Did she just not like, after the tough trip, not like the turf at Tampa, or basically the unlucky day that she had up north?
Well, I think that was it. She had a tough trip last time, and she was actually, as we roll the replay, she was actually moving pretty well as we come into the stretch, and she had to check back pretty sharply. And for horses that just completely have their momentum cut off, here it looks like she's in the clear. She's going to be closing well, has some pretty good momentum. And then as they get deeper into the stretch, and to be fair, she idles a little bit. The ones that are outside have a stronger kick, but she does have to take back pretty sharply, and all of her momentum shut off. So I think the drop in class, it does make sense given the fact that she was running for a starter allowance, 2 starts back. This just could be a good spot for her, and I'm hoping that she uses that speed once again, as clearly it seems like she kind of waits on horses a little bit on the front end. Put her on the lead and let her go.
All right, fair enough. And Makasupa ran fine, and I feel as though in terms of her last out maiden win, I know Cat Lady cost a lot, and she's had a little bit of a professional bridesmaid maiden thing going on. I don't know. I think for maiden 50, she caught a legit foe who ran her race, and she still was able to wear her down and get the W. Good spot for her coming back, right?
It is, and I had liked Makasupa back towards in the spring at the start of her 3-year-old season. I do think Cat Lady's a little bit of a tough gauge because she just has had so many starts, but she runs a race every time. Take nothing away from her as far as that goes. She just unfortunately doesn't win. But Makasupa, I agree. I think that her last race was a step in the right direction. It was the first off the layoff as well. Waters are deeper here, but she's a filly I've always been a fan of.
Let's cash out the card. In the meantime, race 10 here at about 5:15 Eastern today. We've got an older 20K maiden claimer on the turf going 5 furlongs. And again, as I am hoping to close out that late pick 5 with a 7-10, 10-7 exacta, I don't know, I was pretty comfortable just going into this with the new face. That's the appeal of the 7 Joyful Surprise. And if for whatever reason he doesn't run or doesn't like going 5/8 on the grass, the recent form, despite being winless in 14 starts, Grand Union does feel as though that he's raised his game and has been, despite again being a maiden, has been better than ever over his last 3 for JC Avila.
It's tough, isn't it, to like this horse on top because of the 0 for 14, but it's also tough to leave him off because he just always seems to run well, at least recently. He's in good form. I guess the biggest question is he just one of those horses that's very good at picking up a check, or will he be able to step forward and win? Joyful Surprise, I agree, is a major player in here. Unfortunately, the barn does not have good numbers on a trainer switch with a drop in class, on the turf, any sort of those combinations, though he does have some speed. So I took a little shot with Blankenstein, who is by Shanghai Bobby, and while he didn't overly strike me as a turf horse first time out, and there's not much pedigree for that on the bottom side, I did notice that he was one that was kind of lighter behind, and those tend to push off a little bit better on the grass. So that's my theory in here, hoping he likes the turf.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a wise guy-ish look to him. Second out, just keeping Louis Saez after running. You couldn't run against a better horse than Tonalism for maiden 20. I mean, he ran against a horse that probably could have won for maiden 50 in that January 7th race, and we'll see how he does, obviously, for Jorge Delgado in the nightcap. Now, we'll dive into our lightning round here on this opening Wednesday card of Pegasus Week, and a very Pegasus-centric start to this lightning round today. And our first order of business, naturally, because both of these races, the Pegasus races, will be drawn at 1:45 Eastern today. You and I hosting the draw on the Sport of Kings. We're expecting a cast of 12, a maxed out field of a dozen for the $3 million Pegasus Dirt. And needless to say, Acacia, it sounds or at least feels like Knicks Go is going to be favored there.
I would think so. Winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, I got a chance to catch up with trainer Brad Cox about him, and he said, you know, this is a stallion-making race, really, the Pegasus World Cup, of course, already being successful in Grade 1 company, but to be able to stay in training for another year and run in a race like the Pegasus, a real incentive for some of these older, more established horses, and we're glad to have him still in training and to be lining up in the starting gate.
And Todd Pletcher, who, like Brad Cox, has had a lot of success. I mean, Brad is clearly a favorite to win his first ever Eclipse Award as champion trainer. Todd's got 7 Eclipse Awards on his trophy mantle, and he may add a Pegasus Turf late Saturday afternoon. He's got a 3-headed monster headed by Colonel Liam for the Pegasus Turf.
Yeah, what a tough group he does have assembled, and all 3 of them with a prep race here over the Gulfstream Park turf course. So they've each had a chance in separate races to get a race under the course here. The connections know they like the turf course, and they've all run very, very well, and all coming off the back of a win.
The undercard stakes, though, Saturday are really coming up great, and that's a card, again, collectively that'll be drawn this afternoon, and we're looking forward to seeing the PPs and really diving into the nitty-gritty with the 5th Pegasus program. But, you know, regarding the undercard races, Acacia, I think the horse I'm most excited to see, and I've bought into the hype like a lot of people, and maybe the accomplishments don't match the kind of like luster and aura that surrounded Performer, but I'm dying to see him and what he can do in the Fred Hooper. I mean, his claim to fame is having won the Discovery late in his 3-year-old season, but I really like this horse a lot for Shug.
I do too, and in the iconic Phipps pedigree and in those iconic silks as well. And I still think that his allowance race off the layoff earlier this year was one of the stronger performances and just really impressive. He just had so much left. It's a little bit of a tough gauge because it was such a wet track in the Cigar Mile, and saw him school the other day. He's a big playful type of horse, and I'm sure not one that really handled that track very well.
I hope that's the case. I really again, hope that he's on the cusp of a big 2021 campaign. Who knows? Metropolitan Handicap down the line, we'll see. But Performer's Gulfstream debut on Saturday wasn't meant to be with Barclay Tagg and Tiz the Law and the Saratoga crew and the Pegasus Dirt, unfortunately. But Mr. BT will still be in the mix, sending out Joe Allen's Doswell in the McKnight. This is a horse who's coming out of a very good rail skimming ride there in the in the tropical turf last time out against the Largent.
And this was the best I've ever seen him look. He's a horse that's very difficult. I remember when he won off of a big layoff on the Travers undercard at Saratoga, and Barkley telling me his partner and assistant, Robin Smullen, the only one that can ride him, the only one that can really handle him because he's so difficult. And he was so much more composed last time. They've really done a tremendous job with him and bringing him back, and excited to see him going that 12 furlong distance.
Definitely Sadler's Joy pointing to that race. Admission office, that'll be a good field in the undercard McKnight. Now Friday, meanwhile, not only offers full card advance wagering on the Pegasus program, we've also got Arham coming back for Shadwell Stable and Todd Pletcher. I mean, how good was this horse first time out?
Yeah, he was very impressive, and I think that he's definitely one that will appreciate now having that race. Just coming back is going to be even stronger, and I loved what he looked like in his debut too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him again on Friday.
And you can see all these horses in person Saturday if you'd like to join us for the 5th running of the Pegasus World Cup. Tickets are available over at PegasusWorldCup.com. You can check out GulfstreamPark.com as well. Stronach 5, what do we say at Acacia? About 98,000 the carryover on Pegasus Eve.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Carryover, low takeout, just a 12% takeout. All 4 Stronach tracks in the mix, 2 from Laurel. Then we head out to California and wrap things up with the nightcap here at Gulfstream.
All right, at about 5:15 Eastern. We're not wrapping things up. We're just getting underway. We've got Ron Nicoletti joining you and me before the first, and Pete Aiello up in the booth with those Wednesday scratches and changes.
Point of entry's taking the lead. Point of entry wins.
Placoup Parfait is finishing hard along the inside. Placoup Parfait takes out the Derby.